Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I hope all of you are keeping safe. Businesses have started reopening, and I hope all of us are doing best in what we do, that is selling cars and selling vehicles. We have a very important topic for which we have kept today's webinar. Welcome to FADA's tax series webinar on the topic changes in TDS and TCS provisions in Income Tax Act, compliances and penal consequences. We have with us our speaker, Mr. K. Gururaj Acharya. He is a chartered accountant, and he will take us through the salient features of the provisions which are coming into effect from tomorrow, that is 1st of July. If I have to just briefly talk about what are these new changes in the provisions. There's an introduction of TDS on purchase of goods at the rate of 0.1%. Now, more information is required in terms of TDS and TCS returns. Higher TDS and TCS for non-filers of income tax returns. And most importantly for all of us, how do we check the non-filer status of the seller on the portal? All these discussions will be taken through by Mr. Acharya in our webinar today. I will now request our President, Mr. Vinkesh Gulati, to give his opening remarks and also introduce our speaker, Mr. Acharya. Vinkesh, over to you.
Good morning, friends. Good morning, Mr. Acharya. Welcome to today's seminar. Obviously, we had to rush to get this seminar done in a very short time because the implementation has to be done from 1st of July, which is just a day ahead. So thanks for joining in, and we are having Mr. Acharya here, who is a qualified chartered accountant, a cost accountant, and senior partner at Mrs. K.G. Acharya and Company, Chartered Accountants at Bangalore, which specializes in corporate finance, corporate taxes, and company law. He has even authored a book titled Internal Finance Control, Practical Handbook on Audit Report on What Can Go Wrong, which has been published by Karnataka State Chartered Accountant Associations. Apart from this, he has a forte in accounting standards and standards on auditing, Companies Act, LLP, corporate finance, financial analysis, corporate tax, and tax audit. We are glad that Mr. Acharya could have taken time out at such short notice and agreed to address Auto Dealers Fraternity on today's topic, changes in TDS and TCS provisions in income tax, compliance and penal consequences. I am expecting the attendees, the guests who have joined, that by the end of this seminar, they'll be a bit wiser to know how to handle this compliance. And as it has a penal clause also, the compliance is very important. So I'll request you to please be open in your question and answers. We have already shared the questions what we have received during the registration with Mr. Acharya. So Mr. Acharya will have initial presentation and his talk for 30 minutes, and then he'll take over those questions which we have already shared with him. If at the end you still feel that the questions are unanswered, you are open to please mention your questions in the Q&A. If they are unanswered, Mr. Acharya will take it further. So thanks everybody for registering and joining the seminar. And thank you, Mr. Acharya, for agreeing to come and address us. The stage is for you now. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gulati, for inviting me and giving me the honor of sharing my knowledge, or asking me to talk about the latest changes for the members and the community at large. I have to acknowledge the special thanks to Mr. Shyam Shetty, the president of Karnataka State Auto Dealers Association, who has been instrumental in linking me to this greater forum of All India Association. And I should also thank Mr. Saharsh Damani, who has been in touch with me, giving me all the inputs required, sending me all the questions and how the program should go on. So thanks to all of you. So today I'm going to talk to you on the changes which are going to come from day after tomorrow. Let us put it like that. So day after tomorrow, these changes will be implemented. I'm going to talk about that. But before that, I will also talk about the existing TDS and TCS provisions. Also, because that has to be complied properly. There are a lot of penal consequences. I will just touch upon that also. And then before I get into the subject proper, let me tell you that we are in very difficult times, especially in the pandemic. So I make it a point to tell 4 or 5 very important noting points for all the business people and all the people in the field of finance. Number one is we have seen certain firms or partnership firms with 2 partners, or companies with 2 directors or 2 shareholders. And we have also come across a situation where one of them is severely ill, or one of them gets, one of them is deceased. Then for the other partner, there will be a lot of paperwork in getting this third person at that point in time. In fact, as far as the partnership firms are concerned, when there are only 2 partners, the death of one partner will actually lead to the dissolution of the firm, which will have its own tax consequences. So I take this opportunity to inform all of you that if you have only 2 partners, 2 shareholders and 2 directors, ensure that you bring in one more, at least 3 partners. And if it comes from 2 different groups, then you may have an even number by bringing in 4. So this is the first point I wanted to say. The second point I would always like to say is this year budget has made one very important change with respect to ESI and PF, which was always there for a long time. But this budget has made it very, very stringent in saying that any of the dues which have to be paid to the ESI and PF department, of course, the due date is 15th. If you pay it on 16th, the one day later than 15th, you will, of course, you will be paying interest and penalties to the ESI and PF department, but that has got a serious implication on income tax, in the sense that that particular expenditure, ESI and PF expenditure, which is debited to the profit and loss account, will be disallowed forever, especially the employee's contribution. Of course, the employer's contribution of ESI and PF, you have got time to pay till the due date of filing the income tax return. But the employee's contribution, I would always recommend that pay it on 14th or 13th, but not on 16th, because it has a serious implication on the income tax. The third point, again, which all the business people need to know is there are changes, especially if you're a company. I mean, it is true for everybody, mostly for companies. If you have borrowed funds in excess of 5 crores of working capital, all of you must be giving stock statements. Along with that, you will also be giving what is known as the quarterly information system. Some banks call it as financial follow-up reports. Some call it as quarterly information system. Please ensure that whatever information you give it quarterly, it contains your P&L account, it contains your balance sheet, the stock position, the debtors, creditors, profit. So many, I mean, it's a mini financial statement which you are giving to the bank on a quarterly basis. Ensure that it is drawn out from your accounting system, because at the end of the year, in the case of a company, at least from this year onward, that is financial year 21-22 onwards, next year balance sheet when it is prepared, the auditors as well as the company is required to say if there are any discrepancy between the financial statements drawn out on quarterly basis. From the books of accounts, you can draw out your financial statements on quarterly basis, and the information which is provided to your banks. So please ensure that these two matches. There should be no material discrepancies between the two. Otherwise, it could lead to severe amount of complication. The auditor, in fact, has to qualify what is the amount of difference between these two figures. So leading to a lot of issues thereafter with the banks. Then the fourth interesting thing which has happened is with respect to faceless assessments. I'm sure all of you are aware of that. One of the important thing about faceless assessment is that Jaan Pehchan Nahi Chalega. This is what Narendra Modi ji went on to say when he inaugurated the faceless assessment. And I always say that Income Tax Act, which was formed in 1961, in 2021 has completed 60 years. In fact, it was time for the Income Tax Act to retire. But then what they did intelligently is to say that Income Tax Act will not retire, but all the Income Tax Department, as far as the assessee is concerned, is deemed to be retired. I mean, in the sense that you don't get to meet them the way we used to meet them. So from my point of view, there are no income tax officers. It is only the computer which does the assessment. Now, I mean, that is the type of, and you know, computers, they are sort of, I mean, when we say it is faceless, the computers are sometimes heartless also. So earlier we could have hoodwinked and said that, you know, the present situation is so bad. So 2 years ago we were good. But then all these stories will not happen. 2 years ago, issue when it is taken up for assessment, that will be seen per se from that particular point of view. And I always say that earlier days, knowing the officer itself was a great, you know, sort of achievement. But now it is knowing the officer nahi chalega, knowing the law will help. Now today I am helping you in understanding the law, but knowing the law does not help. What helps at the end of the time is complying with the law. So please ensure that you comply with the law, because all these days knowing the officer, the officer whom you know will not be able to help you because he doesn't know who is doing the assessment. So as far as we are concerned, it is better we understand that the assessment is done by the computer itself. So without getting into the managing or strategizing the situation thereafter. So with that, I come to the subject proper, which is on TDS. So for a moment, again, let me tell you why. What is TDS? TDS is on to be done on certain expenditures. TDS is to be done whenever you are paying, let us say you are paying me an audit fee of 1 lakh rupees, you will have to deduct 10,000, 10%. I mean, the percentage there for different things, they are specified differently. 10% for professionals. So you deduct 10% and pay me 90,000 rupees. So this 10,000 rupees will be available in my permanent account number, and I will be able to get the credit. So that is TDS. TCS, I'm sure all of you know by virtue of 1H and 1F. All of you have been going through 1F for a long time. What is 1F? 1F is whenever you are selling a car in excess of 10 lakh rupees, you have to collect 1% in addition to the value of the car. You have to collect, let us say you sold a 12 lakhs car, you will have to collect 12,000 rupees from the customer and credit it to his account so that he can get the credit of this. Now, what are the reasons for which TDS and TCS is done? For the one is to say effective collection. I mean, one of them, when this 10,000 rupees or 12,000 rupees, whatever got deposited to the government account, it's an effective mechanism of collection. I mean, if I were, I've seen some of our clients, when I send them, of course, advance tax has to be paid. TDS, the various mechanisms in which tax is paid. One is advance tax, one is TDS, one is the self-assessment tax paid at the end of the period, and thereafter the regular taxes. So what we have seen is when it comes to TDS, in fact, you are deducting my tax, you are paying my tax. So you do it without any fear or favor in that sense. You do it without any passion, dispassionately you do it. But when, let us say, I have to pay the advance tax, in fact, TDS is paid every month after deducting, whereas advance tax is paid on quarterly basis. So first of all, the government wants payments on monthly basis instead of on quarterly basis. So therefore, one way is to say it helps the government to pay their salaries to the departmental people, etc., etc. It's not necessarily income tax department. It is the various salaries that they have to pay, or the various expenditures that they have to pay. The second issue is when I ask my clients to pay an advance tax of 50 lakhs, they would say, yes, sir, 50 lakhs, thoda kam karo, then 40 lakhs ho jayega. But the next day we see that the challan comes only for 30 lakhs. So there is some amount of fear or a pain when the advance tax is written for in your own case. But when it is written for the other person, we write it off, without any fear or favor in that sense. So one is for effective collection from the government's point of view. The second is for effective monitoring. This is more important. Now, whatever taxes are actually deducted and reflected in the form 26AS, when you know that the TDS which is paid by you on my audit fees will be eventually reflected in my PAN number statement called the 26. That's a passbook I call. It will be reflected in our passbook called form 26AS. So that amount is visible on my passbook. What is visible is not only this 10,000 rupees of tax which you have deducted, also the fact that 1 lakh rupees was my fee which you have paid. Similarly, if I have purchased a car of 12 lakh rupees, what is reflected is not only the tax that you have collected and paid 12,000 rupees, but also the fact that you have sold a car of 12 lakhs and I have purchased a car of 12 lakhs. Most importantly, what we have to realize is some of the cases, I'm sure you know that these particular cars, luxury goods, normally used to be purchased out of unaccounted money. So the moment this gets reflected, it no more remains as an unaccounted money. So to track the transactions, TDS and TCS plays a very vital role, plays a very vital role in that sense. So that is about why TDS and what TDS does. The second thing is, once you do the TDS or TCS, it is not sufficient. It is not sufficient to just deduct the TDS and pay to the government. TDS and TCS always happens. In 3 steps. I always say, when we had the famous Hero Honda advertisement, it used to 1 liter petrol के लिए आपको 80 kilometers mileage देगा, and they used to come out with a tagline, fill it, shut it, forget it. So that is the theme. But here for TDS, I always say it is also done in 3 steps: deduct it, pay it, and file it. What should you file? Once you deduct TDS, it doesn't stop there. Of course, if you deduct and keep it in your pocket, it will lead to, I should say, prosecution. It will lead to prosecution. Anything which is collected in the name of the government, deducted and not remitted to the government, will lead to a criminal. It is considered as a criminal liability and leading to prosecutions. We have got arrest notices also on that. Anyway, most of us will not do that, but we will actually pay. So I think that is the end of it. The answer is that is also not the end of it. We will have to file quarterly TDS returns, because that is the return based on which that particular information what you file will eventually be reflected in my passbook, which is called as the Form 26 AS. So that is about point number 3. Then if you don't do any one of them, if you deduct it and don't pay it, that it will lead to prosecution. If you have never deducted it, or having deducted it, never paid it, then there could be interest and penal consequences also. And having deducted, paid, if you did not file your quarterly ETDS return, that would lead to payment of fee. For every day of default, there will be a 200 rupees payment of fee to the income tax department. That is the seriousness of the non-compliances with respect to TDS and TCS. Now we come to the 4th interesting question as to how the hell will the department come to know that I have not done my TDS or TCS properly. Now that's a very interesting question. Please understand that all your concerns will be subject to tax audit. The moment your turnover is more than 1 crore, the chartered accountant has to be appointed and he has to do a tax audit. So when he furnishes the tax audit, one of the important things that we have to report is, has all the ESI and PF been paid on time? When within the 15th, has it been paid? If it has not been paid on 15th, what is the consequence? I've already told you that also I only have to give. Similarly, TDS and TCS information, there is a big questionnaire asked for the tax auditor to give out. Are there any non-compliances with respect to TDS and TCS? So that is so it will be known to the income tax department by virtue of the auditor reporting the matter to the income tax department. And also, suppose the auditor miss out, there is an auditor over the auditor, that is the income tax department itself. In the process of scrutiny, that will be known. The 3rd situation is, there could be a TDS survey itself, where the department comes to your office and finds out, not the normal survey, it could be a TDS survey, which the department could go ahead. So these are the issues. Now I will come to my topic in particular. These are all the preludes. TDS, I will be dealing TDS in 2 parts. Part 1, I will be talking about what TDS and TCS rates and what are the provisions that you have to comply with as it is. I will spend 10 minutes on that. And thereafter, I will spend another 15-20 minutes to explain what are the new changes that are going to come in from day after tomorrow. Now, all of us know that if you don't pay, as I'm putting up my screen, Damaniji, I think the screen is visible. Can you just?
Yes, sir. Very much.
Okay. So yeah, Damaniji, I made the necessary changes, as you can see. So thank you for the invite. A very good brochure was made out, TDS and TCS provision in income tax. We'll be talking about the compliances and the penal consequences So what we need to understand, of course, this I have already told, that dissolution of a partnership on the death of a partner. I could see somebody putting on the chat box saying that, can you elaborate? Let me tell you that whatever questions you have, please put it in the chat box so that all those questions I will be answering at the end. But before that, Mr. Damani has also sent me about 36 questions, which also I will be covering through my presentation itself. The point I was trying to make is, if there are only two partners and one of them dies, that partnership firm is deemed to be dissolved. It has been held in 2 Supreme Court decisions that the firm, although inducts a third partner after the death of a second partner, will be considered as a new firm, and therefore the assets and liabilities or assets of the firm is deemed to be transferred to a new firm which is thereafter formed. So therefore, please be careful about that. So we were talking about faceless assessment, and we thought that what we could not probably properly explain during the assessment, we will probably explain through the appeal process. But then commissioner, which the first level of appeal is the commissioner appeals. Commissioner appeal is also made faceless. And just now I got an order also, just before I got an order, and that order interestingly is on ESI and PF only, which the Commissioner Appeals has disallowed. Then the next stage is, I thought I will go and explain it to the tribunal, which is probably sitting with the 2 judges in front of me. I can explain them. That also in this budget, they have told that it will be faceless in that sense. So delay in ESI, PF we already discussed. So let's now talk about the TDS and TCS provisions under the Income Tax Act. Part 1, I will be dealing with existing and continuing. So before that, please be aware that Form 26AS, which is actually the passbook where all your transactions will get reflected, which will be noticed to the Income Tax Department, is a mini statement of all your financial statement itself. All your transactions which happen is sort of getting noticed by the Income Tax Department, which will be reflected in the 26As. All of them are automated. The moment, the finance minister last year went on to say that the income tax return will be pre-filled by the Income Tax Department. Of course, you can always modify it with reasonable, if it is going to increase from what is already pre-filled, you can increase it without any problem. But out of the information which is already available, if you are going to reduce it, then you'll have to justify as to why you have reduced it. For example, not only the income and expenditure, if I have purchased a property, worth anything more than 30 lakhs, that will be known to the Income Tax Department. Who is the purchaser? Who is the seller? How will they come to know? Through the TDS mechanism. Now, one is TDS mechanism. The other one is the sub-registrar has to inform about that particular transaction to the Income Tax Department. So all of them will be sitting in the 26AS. Suppose I bought a property worth 10 crores. And in my financial statement, I am showing that property purchased is only 5 crores. Then, or I have never shown that purchases. Definitely, there will be a scrutiny notice asking as to why that was not properly done. Unless I have a reason to say that I showed 5 crores because although it was my PAN number which was showing, it was purchased jointly between me and my wife. I have shown 5 crores in my account, and my wife has also shown 5 crores in her particular account. So that could be a proper justification. Otherwise, it will look like I have purchased 10 crores, but why did I show only 5 crores? So today in your past statement, in your passbook equivalent of 26AS, what are all the things that are reflected as salaries and pension, house property rentals on which TDS is done, capital gains from listed securities. In fact, this was a recent addition. The capital gains that you have earned from trading in listed securities are also reflected there. Dividends on listed securities and mutual funds. Whether or not TDS is done will also be reflected here. Interest from banks, post office. Again, whether or not TDS is done is getting reflected in your passbook. TDS and TCS with transactional value, TDS and TCS and gross receipt from sale of properties, taxable turnover reported in your GST, what you are going to file in your monthly 3B return will also be reflected in your 26AS. Advance tax, self-assessment tax, tax refunds, purchase and sale of securities through stock exchange. Apart from that, there are a lot of cash transactions which are also getting reflected in 26AS. So what are the various rates and changes? Before I go into the changes, again, I'm talking about the existing provisions with respect to income tax. The TDS, this is a comprehensive chart This is a comprehensive chart which lists out what are all the, at a glance, as to what are all the various provisions on which, what are all the various popular expenditures on which you are supposed to make TDS. Salaries, of course, we know. Dividends, when you are paying in excess of 5,000 rupees, TDS has to be done at the rate of 10%. And please ensure that the last column, whatever it was, in fact, the finance minister last year gave a relaxation, gave a discount of 25% on the original tax rates. But this discount was applicable only from 14th May 2020 to 31st March 2021. Anyway, we never wanted this discount because I mean, I'm sure all the accountants will agree with me. People in the accounts department, this was, calculating 7.5% and things like that was actually working out to be a messy affair. And in any case, I had to pay the differential through advance tax payment. But for people who were anyway suffering TDS and had to claim for refund, for them it made some sense. But then point I'm trying to say is this discount was available only up to 31st of March. Thereafter, you go back to your original rates. So interest, if you are paying more than 5,000 rupees, you have to make a TDS of 10%. Contractors and subcontractors, if you are paying more than 30,000 rupees, in one check, or less than 30,000 rupees, but collectively in the year you are paying more than 1 lakh, you shall make a TDS of 2%. And in case if the contractor happens to be an individual, you make a 1% TDS. Commission and brokerage for more than 15,000 rupees, you are making a 5% TDS. Rent paid more than 2.4 lakh rupees, you make a 10% or 2% TDS, depending on whether it is immobile property, furniture and fixtures, or whether it is a plant and machinery and equipment. 194J, what I was talking about, when you're making the payment to professionals, it would be 10% TDS in excess of 30,000 rupees. If it were to be technical services payment or call center or royalty, then you make only a 2% TDS, which got changed from 1/4/2020. Immobile property. If you are selling an immobile property of more than 50 lakhs, you make a 1% TDS, without which the sub-register will not even register the property. Rent paid by individuals and HUF. Rent paid by individuals and HUF. If at all they are not paying through their business, then if they are paying on their own, even a salaried employee for that matter, if he's paying more than 50,000 rupees per month, he has to ensure that he makes a 5% TDS and pays it, of course, once in a year. Contractors, commission, brokerage, professional, even for individuals it has come in. I will not talk about that. And all of you must be aware by now about the TDS which is done by the bank in case you have withdrawn more than 1 crore in the form of cash from the bank. So to desist the cash transaction, there is a levy of 1%. I mean, of course, as TDS, it is not as a final levy. You can claim that as a credit, but maybe the department would like to know why are you drawing so much cash. So all this information will be passed on to the bank and will get reflected. That could lead to a question during the scrutiny. So that is the existing, what should I say, the cutoffs and the tax rates as far as TDS is concerned. The next, now we are coming to very important aspect, which is dealing. Of course, all these what we just now saw will be there in all the auto dealers I have seen. Now I'm talking about TCS. I'm not talking about TCS in general. I'm talking about those TCS which needs to be done with respect to an automobile dealer. With respect to an automobile dealer. Again, mind you, this is existing. This is existing. 1F was always there. 1H got introduced last year. 1F was always there. 1H has got introduced last year. What is 1F? Whenever we already discussed this particular point, whenever you are selling a car, TCS means when you are selling, you collect. TCS is with respect to the income. TDS is with respect to the expenditure. So when you are selling a car, you collect the money. And if that car happens to be a car worth more than 10 lakh rupees, if it is less than 10 lakh rupees, 1F will not come into picture. Only if the car value is more than 10 lakh rupees, you will collect in addition to the value of the car 1% extra and remit it. I told the example of 12 lakhs car and 12,000 rupees I collect it and remit it. So to whom is it applicable? It is applicable when it is sold on a retail basis. So for all the dealers who are selling it on a retail, when it is sold by, let us say, the OEM, let us say Hyundai or Mahindra and Mahindra, when they are selling the vehicles to the dealers, this 1F is not attracted. Only when the dealer sells it on a retail basis to an end customer, then it will apply. Then only it will apply. Now, what they have done, even for TDS and TCS, please understand, for TDS and TCS, there is one exception to the general rates. One exception to the general rate. In case the other person on whom you are doing the TDS or TCS does not have a PAN, then for TDS, the TDS rate, whatever it is, 10%, 2%, 1%, 5%, will stand increased to 20%, will stand increased to 20%. Like that. So like that, in the case of 1F, that means more than 10 lakhs car, if the other person who is buying the car does not have a PAN, or at least an Aadhaar. I mean, PAN and Aadhaar are considered to be interchangeable. If you don't have a PAN and an Aadhaar, that is why PAN and Aadhaar are interchangeable, and therefore they want every PAN to be linked with Aadhaar. 30th June should have been the last date, but they have extended last week up to 30th of September. So any one of them, if they don't have, then it will the PAN number, the TCS instead of 1% will stand increased to 5%. That means in the case of 12 lakhs car, you will end up collecting 60,000 rupees and remitting to the government. That is already there, and all of you have already been used to this. So not applicable on sale by manufacturers to dealers or distributors by virtue of a circular number 22 in 2016. So from 2016, all the auto dealers have been conversant with this particular thing. Please understand the word used is motor vehicle. It could be not only four-wheelers, it could be two-wheelers also. It need not necessarily be the first hand, it could be second hand also. Used vehicles also can get covered under 1F. Now we are coming to one provision on TCS with effect from 1st October 2020. With effect from 1st October 2020, I mean, it's almost 9 months now. What has happened is, when you are not only for cars, but for all goods, if what they did was, I have to have a turnover. If I have a turnover of more than 10 crores in my last financial year, and I am selling any goods to a person, to anybody, and the transactions during the year is more than 50 lakh rupees. If the transaction I am doing is more than 50 lakh rupees, then I will have to collect, in addition to the value of the goods, that for my own purpose, I have to collect 0.1% from such a person and remit it to the government. So why this is done? Again, to ensure that this particular good purchase and sale is now getting reflected. Otherwise, 0.1% is hardly anything. In fact, 0.1% for 100 crores means, if I'm doing 100 crores turnover with one particular customer, I'm talking about, I have to, if I'm selling a car worth 5 lakh rupees, I don't have to make TDS, or I don't have to collect TCS. If I'm selling 7 lakhs, I don't have to do. But imagine I have sold to a particular organization, let us say Ola or Uber. I have sold cars worth 6 crores during the year, 6 crores during the year. All the cars are less than 10 lakh rupees. So 1F will not come into picture. But since I am selling to Ola more than 50 lakhs during the year, what I have to do is, apart from the value of the car of 6 crores, I also have to collect 0.1%. 0.1% comes to 6 crores ke liye 60 lakhs, 6 lakhs, 60,000 rupees I have to collect and show remitted to the government. But the point to be noted, why 60,000 rupees mein kya farak padega? The farak padne ka not in terms of collections to the government. It doesn't probably make a difference to the payer and the receiver. Maybe this entire transaction, it looks like this particular trader has sold 6 crores to Ola, and Ola has to show 6 crores of purchases. Ola and your company would have anyway shown, but there would have been certain people who would have bought, let us say, some costly personal items by paying cash or whatever. Especially this could happen for personal items if it is more than 50 lakh rupees, say construction materials and things like that. Especially if they are buying more than 50 lakh rupees from a particular vendor, he has to make TCS, and that particular unaccounted transaction, which was hitherto unaccounted, will get traced in the passbook. So this is always there. What is this? TCS to be collected from a buyer, provided the seller has a turnover of more than 10 crore rupees in the previous year and is doing a transaction with a particular customer. Again, going back to my example, I sold 6 crores worth, each car less than 6 lakh rupees to Ola. But if I have sold, let us say, 6 lakhs worth of cars to a particular customer, I have sold about 5 cars. All put together is 30 lakh rupees only. So it is less than 50 lakh rupees, less than 50 lakh rupees. So I don't even have to do any TCS on that particular transaction. But one very interesting exception is, I told you the example of 6 crores for Ola. The point of 0.1% comes into picture only when you cross 50 lakh rupees, only when you cross 50 lakh rupees. And on the first 50 lakh rupees, you don't have to collect TCS. So in my example of 6 crores, I will say minus 50 lakh rupees on 5.5 crores, 0.1%, which is 55,000 rupees only has to be collected and remitted. And in case the customer does not have a PAN or an Aadhaar, it will go up to 1%. Now the question, that popular question that comes out is, for such a transaction, should it be including GST or excluding GST? Let me tell you, for the purpose of TDS, it always used to be excluding GST. In my bill, if I charge 1 lakh rupees and a GST of 18,000 rupees, my bill is 1 lakh and 18,000 rupees. You will have to make TDS on 1 lakh and not on 10% TDS on 1 lakh rupees, that is 10,000 rupees, and not on 1 lakh and 18,000 rupees. But when it comes to 1H, when it comes to collection, it is always told that it is including GST. It is including GST. So a quick comparison between what is 1F and 1H, which you may have to deal as automobile dealers. 1F is only on motor vehicles of more than 10 lakhs. 1H is for all goods of more than 50 lakhs sold to a customer of more than 50 lakh rupees during the year, if and only if the seller's turnover is more than 10 crores. So you come into this net only if your turnover was more than 10 crore rupees in the last year. And in this year, I have sold more than 50 lakh rupees to one particular customer. And the question that comes out is, if I've already done 1F, again, if I'm selling, let us say I sold a Benz car at, which is actually 60 lakh rupees. So I will collect under 1F 1%. Again, should under 1H, because I'm selling more than 50 lakh rupees to a particular customer, should I collect 0.1? The answer is any one of them. If you have collected 1F, you don't have to again come into 1H. So that answers the question. 1F is always applicable. 1H will not be applicable if TCS is already made under 1F. More than 10 lakh rupees per vehicle, that is the cutoff. Here it is in 1H, it is a case of more than 50 lakh rupees per annum. So individually, if the motor vehicle is less than 10 lakh rupees, 1F is not applicable. But for such customer of more than 50 lakh rupees per annum, 1H will be applicable. Beyond rupees 50 lakh, basic exemption per buyer, which I already told. That means 6 crores ke liye, if he does, I don't know when he will cross 50 lakhs. So for the first 50 lakhs, I don't have to do. That is the benefit which they have done. And after 50 lakhs, I will collect only the 0.1% in excess of the amount of 50 lakh rupees. So 1F covers all transaction of retail sales, and accordingly, it will not apply on sale of motor vehicles by manufacturers to dealers, by distributors, which we have already seen. But 1H for all sales above threshold, if 1F is not applicable. So you could have ended up in the last year, you would have seen that the OEM, maybe the Hyundai or Daimler or Mahindra and Mahindra, they were not required to make TCS on you under 1F. But since now under 1H, they are selling more than 50 lakh rupees to the dealer, they are required to collect 1H under 1H 0.1% of the collections that you have to pay to the OEMs. So TCS collection better off, at what point should this be paid? Very interestingly, 1F and 1H, they did not say the moment you invoice nahi hai, the moment you collect it from your customer, at that point you'll have to, your obligation to pay will arise. So, but the point we are suggesting that always please ensure that the TCS amount is also reflected in the invoice itself, so that it comes in one shot. So far we have just dealt with the current provisions. So we are now going to TDS and TCS under the Income Tax Act. I'm talking about the part 2, changes which will come from 1st July 2021. Let me tell you the gist, and then let me open up my presentation. Now, what has happened is, we had seen TDS where all it is applicable, TCS where all it is, it is applicable for more than what I have just now shown. Time permitting, at the end I will show where else it is applicable. But popularly, these are the ones. People who have to know, are required to know. Automobile dealers ke liye, whatever TCS was applicable, I have told. Now, what used to happen is, for no PAN cases, For no PAN cases, we always used to see that you have to make a 20% TDS or a 1% TCS instead of 0.1% or a 5% instead of 0.1%. I mean, just now we saw that particular higher rate of PAN and higher rate of TCS if you don't have a PAN or an Aadhaar. Now, what used to happen is people came to know that if I did not have the PAN, the payer will deduct 20% instead of only 2% or 1%. Now, what he used to do is he used to get a PAN in his name and give it to you. But such a person never used to file his income tax return. I mean, the point to be noted is TDS and TCS is not the be all and end all of it. You have to file your income tax return and show your true income and pay your total taxes, for which, against which you can claim, against which, of course, you can claim the credit of TDS, TCS. There were certain people, especially contractors, and we have seen that they used to get a 1% TDS. And if their income was higher, they had to pay, let us say 1 crore ke liye, they have made a 1% TDS, means 1 crore ke liye only 1 lakh rupees TDS was deducted and paid. But eventually, if they had to prepare their profit and loss account, income tax return and all those stuff, they should have paid about 10 or 12 lakhs as income tax. So they never used to file their income tax return. If they did not have PAN, of course, they would have done a 20% TDS. 20% TDS and 20 lakhs would have got. So they got to know that if I show my PAN, they will do only 1% TDS. So they did 1% TDS of 1 lakh. Actually, they're on their profit, they should have paid 12 lakh rupees as income tax. They never used to file their income tax return. So therefore, to punish such persons, in this year, they introduced a concept where they introduced a section. The original section of 20% or 5 incremental TDS TCS was covered under 206AA, 206AA and 206. I mean, those are all sections, CC. So these were the sections. Now they introduced against AB provision, where they said if the other person has not filed his income tax return for the last 2 years, if he has not filed the income tax return for the last 2 years, you shall deduct a higher rate of TDS, which will be equivalent to 2 times the rate, 2 times the applicable rate, or 5%, whichever is higher. 2 times the applicable rate or 5%, whichever is higher. In the case of contractor, individual contractor, 1% TDS. So 2 times means 2%, or 5% means 5% itself. Whichever higher means you will have to make a TDS of 5% as against 1%. Now, if it were to be a professional like me, and I have not filed my income tax return, then it will be 2 times 10%, which is 20%, or 5%, which is higher, it becomes 20%. So that is the mechanism which has been introduced from day after tomorrow. Definitely opposite of ease of doing business. That means all of you should now find out whether I have filed, whether the person to whom you are making the payment or the person from whom you are doing the TCS. In all your car cases where it is more than 10 lakh rupees, or just now what we saw, more than 50 lakh rupees, if you are dealing with any particular customer, although the car value is less than 10 lakhs, you will have to now do a check to find out whether he has filed his income tax return. Too much of work. When until last week, we were thinking that it is nonsense and too much of work. In fact, we went to the extent of telling all our clients that you have to collect a declaration, if not the income tax return itself, from the other guy. And the other guy said, why the hell should I give my income tax return to you? Why should I give a declaration and things like that? There used to be a conflict there. Now, last year, they have come out with a compliance check functionality inside the income tax website, which my partner will show in the next 10 minutes. He will tell you how you can do a check whether the other person has filed his income tax return or not. So in short, what I am supposed to do from day after tomorrow, or rather from today itself, maybe you can all prepare and be ready. Find out who are all the persons to whom you are making the payment and who are all your customers from whom you are getting the payment. But your customers may not be the same. So that will be a difficult task. We'll talk about that. So what we can do is, I'll make a list of all my, at least my vendors, and all those, for all those, I can do a one-time check. I can feed the PAN number. If you give it in an Excel, I will check it up in my system whether all of them have filed. If they have not filed, their income tax return in the last 2 years, then they are called as bad assessees. Bad assessees are technically called as specified assessees for the purpose of section 206 AB or 206 CCA. They're called as specified assessees, and with respect to those specified assessees, you will have to end up doing a higher TDS or a higher TCS rate. So one thing which I told you was a bulk search. Give me the list of 1,000 vendors whom you have. I will do a test check. I mean, I will do a test, and out of 1,000, I will show these are the 4 people who have not filed their income tax return. With respect to only these 4 people, you shall do a higher TDS rate in future or a higher TCS rate in future. Now, out of these 1,000 minus 4, 996 cases, you can go ahead and do the regular rate. So I can let you know in 1 minute. Now, what about these 4 people? About these 4 people and also the new people who are going to come. I mean, new customers who are going to come, you'll have, what I did for 1,000 thing was called as a bulk search. I will do a bulk search. Then that mechanism is also made available. And there is also a mechanism which is made available in the form of a particular PAN search. I just put the PAN and find out whether he is a good assessee or a specified assessee. Good assessee or a bad assessee. Bad assessee technically being defined as a specified assessee. For the bad assessee, I have to do a higher TDS, TCS. So that functionality is also made available. That is the first change which has come from day after tomorrow. The second change which has come out is all these days for TDS, it was only on services. Just now, last time they have understood the for TCS for sale of goods, they have introduced a concept of TDS on purchase of goods, provided my turnover is more than 10 crores in the last year, and I am purchasing more than 50 lakh rupees from a particular person, then I have to make a TDS of 0.1% against that particular person. So that is called as 194Q. So these are the 2 important changes. Just like TCS, if my turnover is more than 10 crores and I have sold more than 50 lakh rupees to a particular person, I have to do a TCS. Now let's look at this from your organization's perspective. If let us say Advait Hyundai is actually purchasing, let us say 10 crores worth of cars from Hyundai, then all these days what used to happen is Hyundai had to make a TCS of 0.1% of 10 crore rupees against Advait Hyundai. So that used to be the mechanism from 1st October 2020. Now what happens is Advait Hyundai is buying goods of more than 50 lakh rupees from Hyundai naturally. So what they have to do is they have to make a TDS, because it is more than 50 lakh rupees transaction. They have to make a TDS of 0.1% against Hyundai, the OEM. Now the question comes, what is the fun? He has to make TCS and I have to make TDS. So what they have told is, if any one of them has to do, let that 1% do. But if in a situation, if both of them have to do, in this example which I just now told you, Hyundai is making a 0.1% TCS against 1H, which we just now saw. Now, Advait Hyundai will be making a TDS of 0.1% under the new section 194Q. There they said, if both of them have to do, then one of them is sufficient. Who is that one? The person who is doing TDS is required to do this particular compliance. The person TCS need not be done. So in short, wherever there is only TCS has to be done. Wherever there is only TDS has to be done. If both of them are there, then only TDS has to be done. TCS need not be done. So that in short, my friends, are the changes. But let me formally show through my slides what are the changes so that it will be there with you for ever. I will also share my presentation with Mr. Damani, who can probably distribute it to all of you. So TDS, TCS changes with effect from 1st July 2021, that is another 2 days. TDS to be deducted by the resident buyer. You imagine you are a resident buyer under section 194Q on goods bought. All these days, TDS was only on services and never on goods, unless that services happened to be a works contract wherein services and goods were involved. Now, only pure goods which are not covered by any other TDS, will now be suffering under 194Q if I am buying goods, including automobiles, by the buyer whose turnover. Now imagine yourself, if you are a buyer and your turnover is more than 10 crores last year, only then it will kick in, otherwise it will not kick in excess of rupees 50 lakhs from a single seller in one financial year. So to a customer from a vendor, I am buying more than 50 lakh rupees. Then only this particular provision will apply. What rate? At 0.1%. When? At the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier. For no PAN or Aadhaar cases, it will be 5%. So not applicable, I have already told you. One is if it is already suffering, a 194Q, TDS is made under any other provision. If this TDS is done under any other provision, if it is done under any other provisions, let us say under a works contract, I am already doing a 2% TDS, then I have to do it under works contract and not under 194Q. Then if a TCS is made under 206C, for whatever reason TCS is already done and those TCS rates are higher than 0.1%. Please understand how they have built up this particular provision is if there is a higher TDS rate required or a higher TCS which is required by some other section, then that will prevail. However, when there is TCS on the same transaction to be done under 206C1H and under 194Q, 194Q has to be done and not 206C1H. Very colloquially, I always used to say, जब 206C, you see this particular transaction, जो नीचे है, जो 206C1H है, तो 194Q. When 194Q बोल के मैं सवाल उठा रहा था, so I used to ask this question 194Q. The point is there could be a situation where the seller's turnover was not more than 10 crores and therefore he was not required to do 1H. And a buyer is buying more than 50 lakhs and his turnover was more than 10 crores. So therefore he is required to do. We talked of a situation where both of them are required, only TDS is required to be done. So here, please understand, I have been asked a lot of questions saying whether this transaction is with GST or without GST. We still don't have the answer because the 1H said it should be with GST. And TDS provisions, when there is a specific circular number 23/2017 which said that TDS need not be done on the GST component, but there they said GST on services. So here it is not on services, it is on goods. So therefore, until a clarification comes, I would suggest it should be done with the GST. It should be done with the GST. The normal rule of TDS and TCS, let me tell you, it's not your money, it is other person's money. When in doubt, deduct. Please understand the game rule. When in doubt, deduct. Let the other person prove that it is not required. Number two, when in doubt, whether it is a lower rate or a higher rate, I would say always deduct a higher rate. Whether it should be under TDS or TCS, you will see that now it is actually whichever has a higher rate, it will come under that particular rule. So that those are the things that you need to know. Yeah, we will see the non-compliances. What is the penalty? We'll see a bit later on. This is the other thing I was talking about. Higher TDS rates, higher rate of TDS and TCS for non-filers of income tax return. All these days, the penalty was only for person not having the PAN. It used to be 20% TDS. Or we just now saw instead of 0.1%, it used to be 1%. Instead of 1%, it used to be 5%. Now they made a change to say he has a PAN, but he has not filed the income tax return. Such a person is called a specified person. In the case of a specified person, you will have to do a check to find out whether he is such a person. If not, go ahead with the old rates. Otherwise, do the enhanced rate. What is our enhanced rate? 2 times the applicable rate or 5%, whichever is higher. I mean, this is a very, I call that as an antithesis to the ease of doing business. It is an Mr. Gulati was talking about why the hell have the government giving all their works to us? Unfortunately, yes, Mr. Damani also was mentioning that they are trying to want us to do all their work and find out whether the compliances are done or not. Too much of work on the other side, but they have reduced the, the disease. If you call it as a disease, they have reduced the burden of disease by giving in the portal itself a mechanism to check. So I would say that monitor and punish. It becomes my job to monitor whether the other person has filed his income tax and punish him by charging a higher rate or get punished. The point is, if I don't do this, I will be punished. So that is the the problem with this particular situation. So this I asked whether it is an ease of doing business or a dis-ease of doing business. So now let's quickly find out how is the functionality. I mean, I talked about in the compliance check itself, in the IT portal itself, you can find out whether he's a good customer. I mean, it could be, as far as the TCS is concerned, a good customer, or as far as the vendor is concerned, a good vendor when you're doing the TDS. So you can do that in the web check itself. A new feature called the compliance check for 206 AB and CCA is made available on the reporting portal of the IT website. My partner Chirag will actually show you a live case in the next 5-10 minutes. He will explain how a web check can be done. But what it does is IT department provides a list of specified persons who have not complied with the provision. Deductors needs to check if vendor has complied by feeding the PAN either by the single PAN called the PAN search or the multiple PAN called the bulk search. And after the search, if the vendor is compliant, deductor can go ahead with the regular rate. If he is not, then the deductor should charge a higher rate of tax. At this stage, Mr. Damani, I will stop sharing my screen. Chirag, if you are there, can you just take over from here and show them the...
Yes, sir. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll take you through the procedure that is required to be made for us to view the compliance status of the SSEs, whether he's in compliant SSE or not. So this feature has been made available through a portal by name Insight. So now there are various websites of the Income Tax Department, one of which is report.insight. I will just put on that website on the screen. I believe my screen is now visible. Okay. So this is the portal. This is the reporting portal of the income tax website, wherein all of you will have to register one time. And henceforth, you'll have to log into this website to view the status of the SSEs. Now, how do you log in or how do you create your account in this is, you come to this URL by name report.insight.com. And on the left-hand side, you will see an option for register. You basically have to click on the link for register. Now, what this portal will do is it will redirect you to the new income tax portal. Mind you, it will take you out of the report portal, report insight portal, and it will bring you to the e-filing portal. Over here, you will have to log in through your TAN credentials, not your PAN credentials. It will be your TAN credentials, TAN credentials, from where you file your ETDS returns online. Don't use your PAN. If you use your PAN credentials, this feature will not get enabled. Once you do that, it'll basically throw up another screen and ask you some basic questions like, I'll just go through what and all it will ask. Yeah, so once you go through, it will say, I'm taking you back to the reporting portal. And in the reporting portal, it will ask, what do you want to do? Whether you want to register as a new SSE or do you want to submit some responses? Click on the new registration checkbox and click on continue. Once you hit the continue, a new pop-up screen will open wherein it will ask you, what do you want to do? From the drop down in the form type, select compliance check for tax deductor and collector. Compliance check is the tool wherein you will be able to view whether the SSE is a compliant SSE or not. Once you do that, in the entity category, what type of an entity are you? Are you an individual, LLP, or a company? From the drop down, you'll have to select what type of entity you are, and then hit on next button. Once you do that, basic details like entity name, PAN, address, city, area, PIN code, and country details will have to be added. Post that, you'll also have to add a principal officer details. Now, this principal officer can be the director, CFO, or any other account side of the organization. We will have to put in his details, his PAN number, and his mobile number and his email ID. Please put in a valid email ID and a mobile number because there will be a one-time login ID credentials which will go to the email ID which is provided here, through which you will have to log in once, and then the screen will prompt you to change the password, which you will have to use for subsequent logins. Once you do that, you hit on the submit button, and there will be an acknowledgement like this along with a request number which will get generated, which you can print and keep it for your further references. Now, once this login is created, an email, one-time login, as I said, it will go to the registered person's mobile, to the registered person's email ID. which will have a temporary credential, one-time login ID password, through which you'll have to log in and then change the password. And the password and the username for this will be the PAN of the principal officer. Now, principal officer, you might have given your director or CFO or your account head's PAN number. For reporting portals login, the login ID will always be the PAN of the principal officer. So make sure that you give whoever is the reporting portal, you want to designate him for this, make sure that he's there with your organization permanently. It'll be better if you give the director's details itself. Now, whenever you want to check on the portal, I'll take you back to the portal from here and I will show you a live how it has to be done. Yeah, so once the login has been created, you have to come back to this report.inside.gov.in website and click on login. Once you click on login, you'll have to put the PAN of the principal officer and not PAN of your company or of your organization. PAN of the principal officer will be provided at the time of registration, which I just showed you some time back, along with the password. And the password has to be alphanumeric and it has to have one special character. Special character can only be dollar symbol, hash symbol, or an underscore. They have limited fields for special character. Once you log in, it'll ask you.
You have to put up the screen, Chirag. Your screen is not visible.
It's visible. It's visible.
Visible, sir. It's visible.
Visible? Okay, sir. Okay.
So once you log in, it'll ask you again, what do you want to do? From the drop-down menu, please select compliance check for tax deductor and collector and the ITD REIN number. So this is basically your TAN number followed by a specific code, which will be used for this website. Once you do that, you click on proceed. It will show the list of authorized persons who are registered for this website. And you'll be in the login screen over here, wherein on the left-hand side, you can see an option for compliance check for section 206 AB and 206 CCA. Once you click on that, basically you'll have two modes to search. One is a PAN search. PAN search is a single search wherein you'll have to enter the PAN of the person from whom or for the person whom you want to deduct the TDS or TCS and enter his PAN on an individual basis. This is one-to-one search if you have to do it quickly. Now, say, for example, if you want to check anybody, say, for example, our office's compliance. So I'll just put in my office PAN number and just show it. So once you do that, it will give you the name of the SSC in the masked fashion, and it will give you the PAN allotment letter, and most importantly, it will give you specified person under section 206 AP, 206 CCA. If it says no, that means it is a good news. No means no higher TDS. That is how I would like to put it. If it says no, then you need not deduct TDS at the higher rate. You can go ahead with 0.1% in case of TDS or TCS. And you might as well download it in PDF format and you can keep it in the file. So wherever there are car dealers, what we are suggesting is they basically prepare a particular file for a particular customer when they sell the car. They can take this print if they want to and keep it in the file. And here it will give you the status of that assessee. Now, this is a one-to-one search, and say, for example, you want to do a bulk search, like if you want to search 100 assessees at a time. Now, bulk search will be helpful for you at the time of initial search in the beginning of the year, wherein you know that there are fixed vendors for you, for whom you have to check. So you might as well use the bulk search and once and for all check for their compliance. How do you do the bulk searches? Basically, you just beside the PAN search, you have an option for bulk search. Click on that. And you have an option for downloading and CSV template. Now, what is the CSV template? It looks exactly similar to an Excel sheet, which you can download the template over here. You just click on download CSV template and the template will get downloaded. Once this is downloaded, you have to just put in the PAN numbers of the vendors in below the PAN, which is mentioned over here. So in row number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and onwards, you can just keep on listing out the PAN numbers of the assessees. And once you do that, save this file. Once you save it, come back to this portal, click on upload CSV, select the location and upload the file. Once the file is uploaded, I had given this search for another client on 26th of June. You will get the details of the file which was uploaded and for which financial year, the request ID and the records which were there. I had given 6 PAN numbers, so it is showing 6. You might as well give 100 or whatever count you want to give. And it will show you the status. Now this status, once you place the request, it will show as request placed. And once the download is available, it will show as available for download. Once it is available for download, you have to come back over here. Maybe it gets the file will be available for download within 8 to 10 hours from placing the request. You'll have to come back to this and click on the option of available for download. And you will get the file again in an Excel format, which will be something like this. Yeah, it'll be like this. It'll give serial number, PAN, name, PAN allotment date, PAN Aadhaar link status, and whether he's a specified person or not. Once you have this detail, say for example, you have 1,000 vendors and you can just filter out yes from the Excel sheet. Once if you filter out yes, if it is yes for say 4 or 6 assessors as Sir was mentioning, for these assessees, you will have to deduct double the rate of 5%, whichever is higher. So this is one mechanism through which you can do the check for 206AB and 206CCA. This is pretty much what I had to show.
Yeah, thanks, Chirag. Now
You,
sharing, I will start sharing and take the issue further. Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Yes, it is.
Yeah. Now let me just take over from where Chirag left. Yeah, this is where he was talking about single PAN search. I think for all your vendors, I suggest that you should do a bulk search. And for all your customers, as and when they approach, you have to do a particular PAN search model and then find out whether they are red assessees or a blue assessee. A blue assessee means a good assessee. A red assessee means assessee which requires a higher rate of TDS or TCS as the case may be. So now this is one slide which I thought I will just show on a comparative basis when you are dealing with the same type of a transaction. For an automobile dealer, we have taken an example. When there is a sale transaction to a customer, sale of a car with value of more than 10 lakhs, you will do it under 1F at 1%. Sale to a customer, a car of less than 10 lakhs, no TCS is required unless covered under point number 3 below. So what is that point? Sale to a customer of more than 50 lakhs in a year of all cars with value less than 10 lakh rupees, 1H at 0.1%, except there is one exception to this rule. If the customer does TDS under section 194Q, what we just now saw. If both the people have to do, then 194Q is superior to 206(1)H in that sense. So a purchase transaction from a vendor, including a OEM. It could be vendor, of course, your OEM is also a vendor. It could be your spare part purchases or any other vendors from whom you are buying will also be a vendor. Purchase of goods from a single vendor of less than 50 lakh rupees, no TDS. Purchase of goods from a single vendor of more than 50 lakh rupees, you will have to do a TDS at 0.1% under 194Q. So that gets us to the end of the changes in the next 2 days. We are moving into TDS and TCS, penal consequences and other compliances. As we have already seen, TDS does not end with deducting, it has to be remitted, and it does not end with remitting. You will have to actually fill the passbook of the other person. How do you fill the passbook of the other person? By file. The moment you file your quarterly ETDS return, my passbook or the other person's passbook will get the required entries saying that much tax is lying in my credit. Thereafter, it is my job. So there are due dates for this. I'm sure all of you know, but the point to be noted is it has to be done quarterly. Normally, it is 30 days from the end of the quarter. You will have to, within 7th of, please understand, whatever I collected in the month of June has to be remitted by the month of next day, 7th. So 7th of the next month, I have to pay both TDS and TCS, and all the 3 months in the particular quarter, end of the quarter, if it is TCS, 15 days from the end of the quarter, I'll have to file the TCS return. If it is TDS, within 30 days from the end of the quarter, I will have to file the TDS return. So accordingly, there are so many dates. If I don't do this within the accepted dates or the extended due dates, for example, quarter one of the current year is yet to be coming, and I have to file it by 15th July for TCS and 31st of July for I mean, it should be 30th July, 30 days from the end of the quarter. But for quarter four, I should have filed, that is for 31st of March 2021, I should have filed the due date by 31st of May. Somehow, because of the pandemic and lockdown situations, they have been extending. As on 2 days back, when there was a circular, they have extended it up to 15th July 2021. Any day, 15th July ka badle mein, if you file it on 16th July, you will have to pay 200 rupees additional penalty. Then what are the other penalties to be noticed? For failure to make TDS, जहां पे आप मेरे को 1 लाख देना है, TDS करना था, आप नहीं किए, then for not making the TDS, you will be paying interest under section 201. You will be considered as an assessee in default, and you will be paying interest to me at the rate of, not to me, of course, interest to the income tax department at the rate of 1% per month. Now, please understand, you have collected all the TDS in the month of June, and instead of paying in the month of, by July 7th, I mean, very interestingly, 7/7 is the due date for which you have collected in the month of June. Then if you don't pay it on 7/7, you pay it on 8/7. You pay it on 8/7. If you think that the interest to be paid is only 1% for 1 day, that is wrong. Income tax is never stingy. They don't collect it on per day basis. They are not bothered about per day. They're calculating for the whole month. And they don't calculate from the whole month of the month in which you are supposed to pay. They will also consider the month in which you deducted. So therefore, you deducted in the month of June, you paid on 1 day later in the month of July. So it is actually for them 2 months. So for a 1 day delay, you end up paying 2 months interest. So please note this particular point. Penalty under section 221, in case you don't pay at all, or if there is an enormous delay, up to 100% of the tax in arrears. After they catch you, and if you pay, you will pay 100% of the TDS amount as penalty. Under 271C, when TDS not done up to 100% of that, when TDS also is not done, there will be a 100% of the tax payable as the penalty itself. Now, a very important point to be noted is there is one relief which is given, one relief and one other problem which I want to flag here. If you have to pay me 1 lakh and you forgot to make TDS, then you pay me entire 1 lakh. If I can tell you that your auditor will come and tell you should have done TDS on Acharya's payment, by that time I would have already filed my income tax return, paid my taxes. Then I will have to do one thing. The person to whom you have to make the TDS, if I have filed my income tax return, I have shown that particular 1 lakh as my income, I have paid the necessary taxes, and I give you a CS certificate saying that all these 3 compliances have been done, then you will not be considered as an assessee in default. But you will have to pay interest for the delayed period from the time you were required to deduct till the time I filed my income tax return. So that is a point to be noted. But a very important point again to be noted is, in case on an item on which you are required to make TDS, 1 lakh you have paid me, and you did not make the TDS of 10,000 rupees, 30% of this 1 lakh, 30% of this 1 lakh, which is 30,000 rupees, will be disallowed for your purposes. I'm taking a very small example. Let me increase the volume of this example. On 100 crores purchase, which you did it from your OEM, on 100 crores purchase, which you had to do it from your OEM, you are required to make a 10 lakhs of TCS and pay. You are required to make a 10 lakhs of TDS and pay, because you are paying to your OEM. So you 0.1%, 194Q mein, you are required to make 0.1% of 100 crores. 1 crore, 10 lakhs. Actually, it is coming to not even 10 lakhs. It is coming to only 1 lakh. 100 crores ke liye, 1 lakh you should have made the TDS. You did not do this. Your auditor caught and you forgot, and your auditor also forgot to collect this. Then 30% of your 100 crores purchases, which is debited to your profit and loss account, 30 crores will be disallowed. And of course, will be allowed in the next year when you are actually making the TDS and making it, or the other person gives you that particular 4-point program, what I told you. But all these things will lead to a lot of heartburns. So please ensure that you do your TDS compliances properly. For failure to pay TDS, why did I put it in the red, is to ensure that having deducted, if you did not pay, it will lead to prosecution. We have received prosecution notices, and in that context, the interest will not be 1% per month. It will be 1.5% per month for minimum 2 months. So this we have already discussed. I will not talk about it. And there is one more thing which all of us should note, that let us say the vendor, I have supplied something to you, and this is a classic case of Jet Airways and the Kingfishers, where they have actually deducted TDS and they have not paid. What is the position of the person on whom the TDS is done? What is the position of the person who is done? There are a lot of demands from the income tax department that my passbook does not reflect this TDS, so therefore this credit is not given. Not only the credit is not given, there is a demand on me. So for that, section 205 is a great relief. They cannot exercise what could I say, the collection mechanism on the person who has actually suffered TDS. So section 205 reads like this, where TDS tax is deductible at source under the foregoing provisions of chapter 7, the assessee shall not be called upon to pay the tax himself to the extent to which tax has been deducted from that particular income. So this will be a great saving for the persons against whom the demand is raised. So that gets me to the end of the presentation today. Mr. Damani, I will take up the questions which have come to me yesterday. Is that okay? I will take
Sure, Mr. Acharya, please.
Yeah, I will take up 36 questions have come to me yesterday, which I will take up. Then I will go with the Q&A and chat box questions. But most of the questions, if you have seen here, would have been answered already. Is there any change in TCS dealership had to collect 1% while selling vehicles worth more than 10 lakhs under section whatever applicable versus TCS? The answer is no. 1% TCS on 1F will continue. About 206 AB and CCA, we already discussed. AB and CCA means against the bad assessees, you have to collect higher rate of TDS or TCS at 2 times the applicable rate or 5% doing the compliance check. About new TDS, AB, CCA, we have seen. Any changes in TDS, TCS, 2 changes which we have already discussed. 194Q, that is on sale of goods, you will have to make an additional TDS of 0.1%. But the TCS guy need not do the TCS. So that is a change. And the other one is AB and CCA. Applicability of TDS as well as TCS, both are only TDS. Yes, it is only TDS. If it is on the same transaction, both are applicable. TDS under 194Q is applicable, not 1H TCS. Applicability of this higher TCS law for Sikkim customers having Sikkim subject certificate. Now, for this question, I had to do some research because I was not bothered about Sikkim all these days. Yes, last night, the moment this question came, I got to know certain important insights. I started reading income tax from 1989. In fact, in 1989 itself, up to 1989, income tax was not applicable to the state of Sikkim, From 1989 onwards, state of Sikkim also got covered under income tax. But so therefore, people from Sikkim also have to pay tax. But there is one section 10 subsection 26AA, which tells that if a person from Sikkim or on an individual, not a company or a partnership firm or any other entity from Sikkim, for an individual who is coming from Sikkim, having income coming out of Sikkim, he does not have to pay income tax. Similarly, such a person need not pay tax on the interest and dividend income coming anywhere from India. Wish I was a Sikkim. Wish I was a Sikkimese in that sense. I mean, I don't have to pay taxes. Or if I now decide to marry somebody from Sikkim, will my status change? The answer is not only no for me, the status of that unfortunate lady also, she will also not become a Sikkimese. So she will also have to pay taxes. So that is the point. In short, Sikkim people have been given certain benefit. Now the question that is asked is, if they hold this certificate which exempts them income, should we not deduct or collect TDS and TCS at all? Please guide. The answer is, even if it is an exempt income, TDS and TCS has to happen. There is no respite on such a situation. The only respite that they have told is a person whose income is exempt and also who need not file his income tax return. Then in such context, TDS need not be done. But don't take it at the face value. They have given a list of, there is a circular based on which only a few names have been told. Only for them, TDS, TCS need not be done. Otherwise, TDS, TCS has to be done on every case. But if the other person feels that TDS, TCS need not be done in my case, I have to apply for a refund, then such a person can go to the income tax department, the TDS wing, and get a certificate in my name, the deductor's name, that I should not deduct TDS or make TCS on such a payment. In that context, I will go by the, what should I say, the certificate on an order from the department, based on which I don't have to make. But even if I receive a certificate, it is specific for the assessee, specific for the vendor, specific for the period mentioned in the particular certificate, or up to, they all sometimes give up to 10 lakh rupees you don't have to deduct, up to 1 crore you don't have to deduct for this year or for this month, whichever way they would say. So we'll have to consider all those things and go in for lower TDS. Changes in TDS TCS provision we have seen. Currently, point number 8, currently we are charging TDS on the bills raised by us to insurance companies for body shop. What would be the scenario after 1/7/2021? I see a similar question coming out in the chat box also. Now, why will I make a payment to insurance company? I mean, I am actually receiving from insurance company. I mean, for doing the body shop, it will have to be, when I am receiving it, should I collect my TCS is the question. If I am receiving more than 50 lakh rupees, and if they don't do it, then I am afraid I will have to do it. Next question is 194Q and 206AB, and on what it is applicable, we have already seen. What declaration is required from both the parties? Now, declaration is not required. You can go and do a web check or a compliance check on the income tax website. How the system will work, Chirag has already shown you. How to calculate exemption limit of 50 lakhs. Yeah, this is a point to be noted. Although I'm saying that I have to do this TDS under 1H or the new 194Q and only for more than 50 lakhs. And this is coming from 1st of July. Do I have to see 50 lakhs from 1st of July or 1st of April? The answer is you will have to test for 10 crores turnover in the last financial year, that is 2021. And 50 lakhs limit will kick in from 1st of April 2021, not from 1st July 2021. However, from 1st April to 30th June, whatever turnovers you have done, you don't have to make any TDS. You don't have to make any TDS under the new provision. But if you have already done, let us say 60 lakhs turnover up to 30th June, and in the month of July, you are making another 20 lakhs turnover. So the total turnover for the year is 70 lakhs. You are required to make TDS under 194Q on this 20 lakhs at the rate of 0.1%, because the basic exemption of 50 lakhs is already made use of during the non-applicable period. That is the way you have to calculate. How to calculate collect declaration we have not required in such a short time. How to derive turnover of the seller. I mean, I would always say it is including GST for all the purposes. For the purpose of arriving 10 crores turnover, should I consider GST? Means I would say section 145A says it should be including GST. So please err on the wrong side instead of erring on the safe zone in that point. So I heard that TCS is not applicable for about 10 crores. Is it true? The answer is not true. Is declaration, if it is less than, if your turnover is less than 10 crores, you don't come under that 1H and 194Q. Is declaration to be made for the new sections from the customers? Not applicable. Is it applicable on retail sales also? Very much true. It is applicable. Kindly explain AB, CCA. Penal provisions we have just now seen. Explain the implication of the new amendments with respect to vehicles we have already seen. Pandemic period, is there any exception relating to late payment of TDS and TCS? Unfortunately, there has been no single day extension as far as payments are concerned to the income tax department. The only extensions are for filing the income tax return, for filing the TDS returns. Even though all of you must be aware that 31st July and 31st October is the last date for filing the income tax return, they have extended it by July has become September and October has become November. Please note that for payment of taxes, if the tax payable is more than 1 lakh rupees, interest on the delayed payment will apply right from the original due date and not from the extended due date. So that way government wants money whether or not there is a problem on my side. Only extension are for filing the paper things with the income tax department. So there has been no extension with respect to payments. TCS is not applicable for above 10 crores turnover. The answer is no, we have already seen. TDS and TCS related queries we have already seen. On payment basis or on billing basis. Yeah, TCS under 1H was on collection basis. TDS is payment or debit payment or debit, whichever is earlier. Payment or debit, whichever is earlier. TDS is deductible before or after GST. We said including GST, you'll have to make the TDS. TDS, TCS applicable under a new proviso explain. Want to know the details of the new provision, want to understand how we do the TDS and TCS ahead with our customers, vendors and OEM. I think that was the entire session about. What is a penalty? What we need to follow? What would be the impact if a party is both a seller and a purchaser, and both of them are about 10 crores? We have already seen only the purchaser has to do, the seller need not do it. Whether TDS is required to be deducted on GST amount, yes. Whether TDS is to be deducted on the amount inclusive of GST, yes. Whether TDS under 194Q is deductible on including GST. Whether the deduction will be on net of credit or gross purchase amount. It is a gross purchase amount, unfortunately. It is a gross purchase amount. The returns also should not be considered, is what the department is saying. Will TDS be applicable on purchase of vehicles if already TCS is taken during the purchase of the vehicle? In fact, this is a very good question. If the guy has done a TCS, should I do TDS? Means the primary obligation in a situation is on the person who is required to do TDS. But if a person is required to do TDS and the other person has done TCS, you have to still do TDS. That is my opinion. But a person has done TDS, the other side need not do TCS. So that is how we'll have to see this particular situation. So that gets me to the end of my formal presentation, but I can take any questions that are there on the chat box, please.
So, Mr. Acharya, one question, which is again a state-specific question. It says, I'll just, before that, can you stop the screen sharing so that we can?
Yeah.
So one question which is state-specific is from Kerala, whether this section applicable 194Q towards payment of electricity charges books to Kerala State Electricity Board.
Yes, see what has happened is whether electricity, my question going back to the same gentleman, is whether electricity is a service or whether it is a goods. Damani, what do you think? Whether it is goods or services?
So this is services.
Unfortunately, the courts have held electricity to be goods. And
Okay.
I agree with because services cannot be seen, cannot be felt. Electricity cannot be seen but can be felt.
Okay.
So in that context, when I always say whether it is a tangible or intangible, means it is actually tangible. You cannot say it is intangible. You may not be able to see it, but if you want, you can. When we go for electricity board audits, we can do a physical verification. Kahan electricity dikao bol diya to, they say you cannot see it, but you can feel it. If you want to feel, you as an auditor, you can feel. The point is, electricity is also goods, and if you are paying more than 50 lakhs to the electricity department, I am afraid 194Q will have to be complied with.
I think one of the participants joined a bit late, so he's asking, please repeat partnership firm provision for 2 partners. So if you can just give a
I think see, very important. Even if there are, I think again I covered it, but let me at the cost of repetition say, 2 आदमी partner है, 1 आदमी मर गया, तो वो firm, even with all its immovable properties, is deemed to be dissolved. And even if you take the son of the second partner or a wife of the second partner, that particular firm, the new firm, it will be considered as a new firm, and as though all the assets have got transferred to that. So that is the present position. So therefore, please don't have only 2 partners, have a 3rd partner or a 4th partner in minimum, is what I would say.
Next question is in related to 206C, 50 lakhs is including tax or excluding tax. I'm assuming this is the GST portion which he's asking.
Yes, including GST, sir, including GST. I mean, always when in doubt, do more. The other person will give you a circular saying that itna zyada kyun kiye.
Okay, one question coming, whether 206C 1F is applicable in dealer to dealer billing.
The answer is yes. It is not applicable only for the OEMs. I think the circular is talking about only OEMs and not for dealer to dealer के लिए वो exemption नहीं है. Not to apply on sale of motor vehicles by manufacturers to dealers by distributors. So between dealer to dealer also it is applicable.
Okay. If the invoice having service and goods, what should be in this case?
The invoice is having services and goods. Please understand. If it is all jumbled up, it will become a works contract. And works contract में 2% TDS लग जाएगा. But if it is broken up, services के लिए इतना है, goods के लिए इतना है, then on services 194C will come into picture. On goods 194Q will come into picture. That is how we'll have to go ahead.
We have one CA friend also who is listening to and viewing this webinar. He has a long question which he has put up. An automobile dealer having turnover of more than 10 CR repairs the car in a body shop under insurance. Total sale of parts to insurance company crosses rupees 50 lakhs limit. Insurance company informs by way of declaration that it is already deducted TDS on labor and parts on both the amount under section 194C since day one. Now the issue he's asking whether TDS under section 194C on parts should parts amount by insurance company is not as per law. Whether insurance company should deduct TDS under section 194Q now, and if the insurance company still deducts TDS under section 194C and not under section 194Q, whether TCS under section 206C1H to be collected by the automobile dealer.
A very, very good question. It's a very, very thought-provoking question. I saw that also. See, what it says is, if the other person is required to make TDS and has made TDS, then you don't have to make TCS. You know, that is how it is told. But the question that is the question that is asked by the chartered accountant friend of mine is the other person was not required to make TDS. If he is not required to make TDS and he has done TDS, I would say you are still liable to make TCS. That is the theoretical answer to that. But the practical way is to sit with the insurance guy and tell him that please don't make TDS, I will make TCS, because you are not required to make TDS. Ask him to rather justify why he is making TDS. If he is justifiable, then it is TDS is required and liable to make TDS and he has done, then I don't have to make TCS. So normally on the same transaction दोनों भी करने का जरूरत नहीं है. मगर अगर other side if he has done wrongly, then I have to do the right thing. That's how I would put it.
Okay. How to deduct and collect TDS and TCS in case of government orders?
That's a very, very big problem, sir. I know that of course government में TCS अगर है तो TCS collect करना है. TDS है तो you have to pay करने का पहले आपको deduct करके pay करना है. But the biggest challenge is if they don't understand and they still you'll have to explain them. Government comes out with the law, but that law sometimes they feel that it is not applicable to them. But the answer is no.
Since you already took up the Sikkim's question, one similar question is, what if the customer is a non-filer but an income tax exemptee in the case of state of Sikkim where 70% people are exempted?
So, even if he is exempt, TDS, TCS के लिए there is no exemption for me. I have to make, let us say, even if it is an SEZ or 100% exempt startup के लिए जो भी इनको exemption है, मैं तो TDS करके दे दूंगा उनको. उनका it is their headache to file the return and get back that particular refund, or it is their responsibility to give me a certificate from the income tax officer saying that TDS is not required to be done. Then I don't have to.
Okay. Credit received from OEM and the same credit is utilized for purchase of cars. Against those credit, how TCS should be applied?
No, I don't understand the question.
May I ask, I can't see the name of the person. May I ask whoever is joined by the name of Dell, can you rephrase your question and again send it? We'll check once you send your question. If we have sold 15 cars worth 80 lakhs to a buyer and only one car is worth 10 lakhs on which TCS is deducted, what will be the amount on which TCS is required to be deducted now under 1H?
Very simple. आपका जो भी 80 lakhs बताया ना, 80 lakhs ही छोड़ना example में.
Yes.
80 lakhs minus, let us say I am presuming that the car in excess of 10 lakh rupees is 15 lakhs. Okay. So 80 minus 15 lakhs, 65 lakhs का ऊपर 0.1% you will have to do under the new 1H. In fact, not that. In fact, I mean, maybe 65 and you get a basic exemption of 50 lakhs also. Basic exemption of 50 lakhs. Only on 15 lakhs you have to do 0.1%.
Please confirm in which amount TDS of 0.1% will be deducted, basic value or whole invoice value?
Whole invoice value.
we are selling cars on to retail customers, can we take declaration from them under 194Q? I think declaration is no more required.
No. Because see, I mean, I don't want to use that word, but it's better to use it for the sake of understanding. चोर तो कभी भी मैं चोर बोल के डिक्लेरेशन ही नहीं देगा ना, तो मैं बोलेगा मैं चोर नहीं हूं बोल के डिक्लेरेशन दे देगा, तो डिक्लेरेशन से काम नहीं चलेगा. So you will have to go into the website and find out whether he has in fact filed the TDS return. आप डिक्लेरेशन का बेसिस के ऊपर कल अगर वो वेबसाइट में उसका चोर है बोल के, मतलब बैड कस्टमर है बोल के है, and I show the declaration. This declaration will be thrown into the waste paper basket by the department, and your disallowances, non-compliances, all those things will be targeted against you.
One question is regarding how to check on the portal. The lady is asking to check whether person is bad assessee or good assessee. In the reporting portal, we need to file TAN details. That is iTrend. Where is that number available? I
think this question must have been asked before Chirag explained. Since Chirag explained, it's based on the PAN search basis, and that let her go through this video once more and she will understand.
Commercial vehicles purchased by corporate customers whose turnover is more than 10 crore and purchase more than 10 lakh, then 190Q deducted by them, or we should deduct TCS under 206C subsection A.
No, if they have purchased more than 10 crores from me, then the obligation will be on them now from 1st July. Please understand, up to 30th June, it was my obligation. After 1st July, it becomes their obligation. And if they have because they are required to deduct and they in fact deducted it, then I don't have to do a 1H TCS.
In case we pay partial advance to OEM for billing, TDS applicable on date of billing or on date of advance?
So TDS is always on payment or debit, whichever is earlier. So now based on advance, you have to do it. Now the issue that comes out is, let us say I made an advance of 5 crores in June and another 6 crores, my total value is 11 crores. Another 6 crores I paid in the month of July and get 11 crores billing in the month of July. Will it be only on 6 crores or 11 crores? Means the answer that is given earlier was it will be applicable on 11 crores. So that is how they are told.
Okay. One more question. 10 crores advance paid for purchase in July and purchase in August of 8 crores and 2 crores. And 2 crores refunded in September. So TDS 194Q applicability is month-wise, he's asking.
Yes, it is month-wise, and unfortunately it will be on 10 crores. Although the 2 crores returned back to you, it will be shown as returns, sales returns and all those adjustments, but your TDS will be on 10 crores.
Okay, on the
return, money may be returned, goods may be returned, TDS will not be returned. TDS के लिए आपको return file करके आपको refund लेना पड़ेगा या आपका regular tax का ऊपर against में adjust करना पड़ेगा.
Okay. So our state chairperson from Uttar Pradesh, Mr. Sanskar Gupta, is asking, what if a person has filed return for 1 year only?
Now, if he has filed for 1 year only, he will be considered as a bad assessee.
So any new assessee, for example,
that is a real challenge. That is a real challenge. If he's only born today, okay, maybe PAN abhi liya, abhi 1 year liya, so I feel, I mean, the department should make him as a good assessee, because abhi to main file kiya, so where he has missed out a couple of years, then that is an issue where they have to tag in, but that we will leave it to the system. And in case such a person has any grievance, he should go and approach the income tax department to say that he's otherwise a good assessee.
He is also asking, what is the provision in case of a farmer?
The provision in the case of a farmer, yes, I agree that agriculturist is exempt from income tax. But against an agriculturist for the payment that I'm making, if I'm required to make TDS, let us say I purchase some goods from him, 60 lakhs. And unfortunately, I have to do TDS on him. And although his income may be exempt, I don't have exemption for not making the TDS. He may have the exemption for his income. So in that context, that agriculturist should go to the department and get a no TDS certificate.
One person having business in different states might have different billing values from the same vendor. So should the TDS be deducted in the total purchases for all the states?
Yes, he has to consider all the purchases, and the ceiling of 50 lakhs is per customer, not per customer per state. It is per customer of your, so it is pan to pan basis. मेरा पैन में सब मिला के उनका पैन को कितना मैं बेचा तो अगर मैं कर्नाटका में 30 लाख भेजा, केरला में 40 लाख भेजा तो 50 लाख क्रॉस हो जाएगा, तो कहीं ना कहीं मेरे को 50 लाख का ऊपर टीसीएस और टीडीएस करना पड़ेगा.
We have lots of questions still flowing in. If we have already made purchases from OEM worth 200 crores, then whether we have to make TDS on purchases made from 1721 or in excess of 50 lakhs. So
No, I told you the provision itself will kick in from 1/7/2021 up to 30th June. You are not required to calculate and pay. Only beyond that you are required to pay. But for which, if you have already paid some advances and the billing happens subsequently, then based on billings you'll have to do. So that is the answer that has come out. So I would say go ahead and do the worst case situation, because anyway the OEM will probably not object.
TDS to be deducted on basic vehicle cost plus GST or vehicle price plus taxes, including insurance and value added, that is on-road price of the vehicle.
I would say it is the on-road price of the vehicle.
So
see, actually, there are some different theories also, because it is only towards the vehicle that you have to collect. It is only on the vehicle that you have to collect, not exactly on the insurance and registration cost. Uska upar se bhi, as long as you are giving, please understand, I'm sure that all of us are collecting, giving different invoices. So the sale of goods के लिए इतना, दूसरा जो भी है वो तो reimbursement है. So pure reimbursement के लिए TDS or TCS is not required.
How to deal with new PAN cases where the returns are not available? So it's similar to
the answer is to be given by the department. I do a PAN search and bulk search and come out with the answer.
Most of the questions are coming. It's a repeat of what we have already answered. Okay, how can we claim the TDS that we have made on purchases from OEMs, as we have already paid OEM in full advance payments for billing?
Yeah, this is a typical question that keeps coming. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to raise a debit note to them and then make use of that to pay here, so that they give a credit to us and make the required adjustment.
What if deducting TDS for goods and service separately for single invoice under different sections? If I deduct it at the rate 194C
yes.
at 2%, what is the impact?
Nothing. See, as I told you, if the invoice is together, then it becomes works contract. If it is separate, then goods ka upar 194Q, services ka upar 194C.
Okay. So Subhash is asking, I have come to know that Supreme Court in 185 Taxman 416 has held that PF contribution of employees is also covered under section 43B and is allowable. Also in 393 ITR 386, please suggest your view.
Sir, the answer is it was holding good up to 1420. From 1420, this budget also has made it very clear. They have said that it is clarified that those two things are two different things. Employees' contribution will never be allowed if it is paid one day later than the due date. They have re-emphasized that particular matter, and I am afraid that those precedents may be helpful up to 31/3/2020. But after 1420, those precedents will not come into play.
Okay, Mr. Dell has again rephrased this question. He's asking credit received from OEM for achieving targets, and the same credit is utilized for purchase of cars against those credit. How TCS should be applied?
Then you give me a credit note again. That's the only way. I mean, you give the required note. And you may say that the monies are not getting exchanged, only through credit notes and debit notes the transactions are happening. If you are required to make a TDS or TCS, again a debit note or a credit note has to be accordingly given and made an adjustment, but you have to pay.
Okay, so similar to individual, if a company is a new company, whether it will still be a bad SSE? I assume that
I'm sure that the department will not be so dud to say that, and for the first 2 years he cannot be considered for that particular purpose.
Okay, there's a question, I think, from a two-wheeler dealer. He's asking, our sub-dealer whose turnover is below 10 crores and dealer purchase from our firm above 50 lakhs, then what's the position of TDS and TCS on this?
Yeah, he is purchasing, so he has to pay. But since his turnover is less than 10 crores, he need not do the TDS. But my turnover is maybe, if it is more than 10 crores, I am required to do it under 1H.
Okay, one question coming from Mr. Gopi Krishna is asking, in case of inter-branch transfers, same company, same PAN, is TCS applicable on transfers?
Sir, एक PAN एक assessee होता है. Okay, एक PAN एक assessee होता है. Within the PAN, अगर उल्टा पुल्टा हो गया तो it is for taking from the shirt and putting it to the pocket, which the department is not bothered. So the answer is no, not required.
One question coming from Mr. Rishabh Sanghi from Alwar. He's asking, we get trade advance released through financiers, which go directly to manufacturers against which vehicles are built. Would TDS also be applicable on such transactions?
Answer is yes, sir. Please keep a track of that. Whenever he pays in that particular month, collect it. Next month, 7th ka, you may not pay. The banker is directly paying to the OEM, but it will be under advice to you. So using that advice, you will have to raise a further credit debit note to them and pay the amount.
Great. I think we have answered all the questions, Mr. Acharya. Thank you so much for taking out time and giving so much clarity to all our dealer fraternity. I will now ask our president to kindly give his remarks and also followed by the vote of thanks.
So thank you, Mr. Acharya. A lot of clarity and a lot of confusions. I feel there were around 300 plus members. They'll all go happy. I don't know happy, but at least they'll be sure how to be compliant enough. A lot of questions have been solved. Maybe once they get into their day-to-day work, they can have some more query. If there is, we'll surely come back to you. But really good information like 194Q is superior to 206C. Things like this help us in day-to work, because a lot of issues are there. Who will deduct and why would I deduct and why would not he deduct? So these are confusions are there. And normally as a dealer, when we are dealing with a sub dealer, we want the control with us, and when we are dealing with OEM, we want the control with them, because sub dealers are not organized and other way around. But so thank you very much for replying to all the questions and the excellent way you explained everybody. There are a lot of good messages already in the group about your explanation style, and as FAD, I thank you, and we'll surely be in touch with you and organize some more event in the future. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. It was my pleasure. Again, I thank the President, Mr. Gulati and Dawani, for all the energetic way in which you have acted. And my special thanks to Mr. Dr. Sham Shetty, who has introduced me to FADA. Thank you so much.
So additionally, thank you, Dr. Sham, for helping us organize this. Thank you all the attendees, guests who have come. I hope you must have got the answers or whatever your issue was or solutions. Please stay safe, keep in touch, and take care with the current pandemic situation. Thank you, everybody.
I'd also like to thank Chirag, who showed us beautifully how the entire process of registration and checking happens. That's the most critical part, which dealers were also asking us. I think it will help them solve all the queries which they had and iron out all the doubts also.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
So thanks, everybody. We'll call it off, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day. I hope it has been a beneficial webinar session for all of you. We'll keep on bringing more such webinars to all our fraternity members. With this, we would like to call off the day. Thank you and have a good day again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.